Welcome back, everyone, and thanks for tuning in to another important update, especially for our viewers in South Africa. Today, we've got some incredibly uplifting news for all our senior citizens and beneficiaries of the South African Social Security Agency. That's right, we are talking about SASSA and the major boost in grants that's taking place for May and June 2025. This new development could bring real, tangible relief to millions of households that rely on these grants as their primary source of income. For many of you who have been hoping for some good news amid rising cost and economic uncertainty, this update could be just what you've been waiting for. We're breaking down everything you need to know about the newly announced increase in SASSA grants, how it affects pensioners and other recipients, when you can expect the payments, and most importantly, why this boost is such a big deal for every South African household counting on government support to make ends meet. Now, let's talk numbers. The big headline here is that qualifying South African seniors will now be receiving up to R2,815 in grant payments in both May and June of 2025. That figure marks one of the most significant increases we've seen in recent memory. It's part of a government-led effort to provide more meaningful assistance during a time when inflation, fuel prices, and the cost of food have placed unbearable pressure on older citizens. This increase represents not just a minor adjustment but a strategic, necessary intervention designed to stabilize the quality of life for millions of older adults who have contributed to this country for decades and now deserve dignity, safety, and peace of mind in their retirement years. So what's behind this increase? According to official government statements, the bump in SASSA grants was approved as part of a broader social relief framework aimed at combating ongoing cost of living challenges. The Department of Social Development, in collaboration with the National Treasury, finalized this decision after reviewing the rising inflation index, which has stubbornly hovered above ideal targets for much of the past year. The grant increase also comes in response to vocal public advocacy from civil society groups and community organizations, many of whom have highlighted how the current grant amounts were simply not keeping pace with the actual cost of survival. Officials acknowledged that while past increases have helped, they were not sufficient to fully meet the needs of pensioners and other vulnerable groups. That's why this time, the boost goes beyond incremental change, it's a significant leap forward. The impact of this decision cannot be overstated. For many elderly South Africans, the old age pension grant is not just a supplemental income, it's their lifeline. It covers everything from food and transport to electricity, housing, and basic medical needs. With the new R2,815 payment, pensioners will have a bit more breathing room. For example, essential items like bread, milk, and electricity have all seen double-digit price increases over the last year. A few hundred extra rands per month might not sound like much to some, but for seniors managing tight budgets, every rand counts. This increase could mean not having to choose between a warm meal and vital medication. It's about restoring dignity and ensuring that the elderly don't slip through the cracks in a fast-moving, often unforgiving economy. Let's talk a little bit about how this increase plays out in practical terms. The standard old age grant had been sitting around R2,090 before this announcement. With the new increase, eligible seniors over the age of 60 will now receive R2,285, and those over 75 years of age, who often face even more medical and living expenses, will get the full R2,815. That's a difference of nearly R800 for the oldest among the elderly, a shift that recognizes the unique challenges faced by this age group. For those with disabilities, the disability grant will also increase to a new high, ensuring that individuals living with permanent disabilities receive an equal level of support as their elderly counterparts. It's important to note that this increase is not just a one-off gesture or a temporary COVID-era relief measure. The government has emphasized that these new grant levels will be incorporated into the broader 2025/2026 financial year framework, meaning they're here to stay for the foreseeable future. In other words, seniors and other qualifying citizens can count on their support month after month, allowing them to better plan and manage their household finances with a greater sense of security. It's a step toward rebuilding trust between the government and citizens, especially those who have felt neglected or left behind in recent years. But how does this change get rolled out? Well, the South African Social Security Agency has confirmed that the payment schedule for May and June will proceed without delay. Pensioners will receive their payments during the first week of each month. For May, the payment started on the 3rd, and for June, beneficiaries can expect their grant as early as the 4th. SASSA has worked hard to streamline its payment systems, and they are urging all recipients to make sure their contact and banking details are up to date to avoid delays. For those who receive their grants via card, ATM, or retail partner locations like Shoprite, Checkers, and Pick n Pay, the process remains the same, but now with more money in hand. Community response to this news has been overwhelmingly positive. Many advocacy organizations, such as Black Sash and the South African Older Persons Forum, have praised the government for finally taking bold action. They've called the move a long overdue recognition of the financial realities faced by seniors in this country. In several provinces, local leaders have even begun organizing financial literacy workshops and community meetings to help seniors better understand how to make the most of the increased grants. It's a collective sigh of relief mixed with a surge of optimism, a rare and welcome moment in what has been a tough couple of years for so many. While the increase has been widely applauded, experts also caution that ongoing monitoring will be crucial. The cost of living continues to fluctuate, and the country remains vulnerable to global economic shifts. Everything from oil prices to food import tariffs could influence inflation. That's why organizations are urging the government to commit to a yearly review of SASSA grants, using real-time data to determine whether further adjustments are necessary. In this way, today's boost is not only a financial lifeline, it could also be the start of a more dynamic and responsive social welfare system, one that evolves with the needs of the people it serves. Another important aspect to consider is how this increase will influence broader economic activity. Studies have consistently shown that grant recipients tend to reinvest money directly into their local economies. When pensioners receive more income, they typically spend it on essentials, food from local shops, services from local providers, and school fees for grandchildren. This creates a ripple effect, supporting small businesses and creating jobs in neighborhoods that need it most. So while this grant increase is aimed at vulnerable individuals, its effects will be felt across entire communities. It's not just welfare, it's economic stimulation from the ground up. The announcement also highlights the importance of ongoing digital transformation in government services. SASSA has made considerable improvements to its online systems, allowing beneficiaries to access their grant information, update their personal details, and even apply for certain benefits without having to stand in long queues. As this boost rolls out, digital access becomes even more essential to ensure smooth transactions and immediate support when issues arise. Seniors and caregivers are encouraged to take advantage of these digital platforms or seek help from younger family members or community outreach centers if they are unfamiliar with the technology. In addition to financial support, the government has also reaffirmed its commitment to providing more robust social services for the elderly. Alongside the increased grants, there are plans in place to expand community healthcare initiatives, offer improved transportation subsidies for seniors, and enhance housing programs tailored specifically to older adults. These services are meant to work in harmony with the increased grant payments, creating a more holistic approach to elder care in South Africa. That means it's not just about handing out more money, it's about building a system where that money can go further and where seniors feel truly supported. Of course, like any major policy change, this one comes with challenges. Critics are quick to point out that while the increase is welcomed, it still might not be enough to fully close the gap between income and expenses for some households. They argue that a broader conversation is needed about universal basic income and the restructuring of social support frameworks in a way that lifts all citizens above the poverty line permanently. However, even these critics acknowledge that this increase is a meaningful step in the right direction and sets a positive tone for future reforms. The role of citizens in this moment cannot be understated either. Community awareness, grassroots advocacy, and public feedback have all played critical roles in pushing this policy forward. From petition campaigns to parliamentary hearings, the voices of everyday South Africans helped shape this outcome. And now, it's more important than ever for communities to stay engaged, informed, and active. That includes checking eligibility for additional support programs, understanding how these payments work, and educating others who may not be aware of the new changes. For caregivers, this grant boost also comes as a much-needed relief. Many younger family members take on caregiving roles for elderly parents or relatives and often share financial responsibilities. With higher grant payments now available, that burden can be eased slightly, allowing caregivers to focus more on emotional support and less on the constant financial juggling that has defined many multi-generational homes in South Africa. It's another example of how this policy change touches every level of society, from the individual to the household to the broader community. To wrap up, this is more than just an increase in numbers, it's a moment of validation and recognition for South African seniors who have weathered countless storms. From economic instability to global pandemics, they've stood strong, and now the nation is stepping up to return the favor. With up to R2,815 available in SASSA grants for May and June 2025, and a system in place to sustain these changes moving forward, we are looking at a milestone moment in social protection policy. It's a reminder that when government listens and citizens engage, real change is possible. Whether you're a senior citizen, a caregiver, or just someone who cares about justice and equity, this is news worth celebrating. Make sure you help spread the word. There are still many out there who may not be aware of this update. If you know someone who's eligible for the increased grant, make sure they check their SASSA payment status and confirm their bank or post office details. Let's ensure that no one misses out on what could be a crucial financial boost during this time. Thank you so much for watching. If this video helped you, please consider giving it a thumbs up, sharing it with your community, and subscribing to the channel for more updates like this. We'll continue bringing you the latest on SASSA, government benefits, and how to make the most of the resources available to you. Until next time, stay safe, stay informed, and take care of each other.